Nintendo just dropped some new footage of Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, and I had just one question. Is it looking any better this time? Because as you might recall, I previously made a video that showcased all of the effects missing from the HD version of the game that can still be found on the Wii. So now that's a few months later, have they fixed any of those issues? Well, the answer is a bit complicated. So let's take a deeper look at the new footage, which includes more missing effects, a few improvements, and even a repeat scene from before that looks worse this time. Okay, so on the surface, the HD version is still looking pretty great overall, with a sharper look and brighter visuals across the board. Just about every part of it looks and feels more vibrant than before, with the greenery especially really popping now on Switch as compared to the Wii. The environments appear to have been completely relit, which can really bring out the detail in some cases, such as how the mushrooms growing on the tree here appeared rather dull on Wii, but really catches your eye on Switch. And the mushroom in the back of this cave is also more visible on Switch too, even if its stem is almost completely hidden in darkness now. The new lighting is even more apparent just ahead, with how the cavern's rocks appear to be barely illuminated compared to Wii, which may actually give the background more depth than before. But there are a few instances where it doesn't look quite right either, like how this flat illuminated section is completely dark on the Wii, and we're pretty sure it was meant to stay that way. Furthermore, there have been a couple of odd changes in this cave. For one, while it could be a trick of the camera, the stalactites in the background appear to have been lowered significantly, although I couldn't tell you why. Oh, and there's also now a weird graphical bug that happens when launching into the background here too, as it causes an immediate change in the lighting on those same stalactites. Regardless, they're not the only things that have moved around, as the TNT bundles strapped to the wall here have all changed positions just slightly. Weird! Before we move on, you might have also noticed how much brighter the caution tape paint job is on the track, as well as the minecart itself. It almost looks like a new model. And speaking of new things, we noticed a new texture has been added to the bottles on the beach, replacing what was just a plain white one on Wii. Although oddly, these mounds in the back appear to have lost their grainy texture. Now before we move on, let's play a quick game of Can You Spot the Difference? Well, can you? Still nothing?
Okay, I'll tell you.
The giant DK statue in the background is no longer holding a Wii remote, but now a red Joy-Con instead. And that's a change they didn't even make for the 3DS version. Now let's get back to your regularly scheduled YouTube video. Anyways, perhaps as a side effect of the brighter visuals, the increased prominence of the rainbows also reveals a shortcoming of the original asset, with how the blue portion doesn't appear to be completely even across the arch. On the upside, it seems the poof of smoke that defeated enemies turn into may actually look even better on Switch, or at least more stylized. Although oddly, the haze in the background here appears to be less stylized and prominent than it was on the Wii. And while we're looking at the background here, we can see that the tree line has been redesigned completely. Not only is it shaped differently, but it also lost all those distinctive palm trees from the Wii version. It's even more obvious in this level, where there used to be an extremely prominent canopy made of palm trees. I kinda miss it. Also, what happened to the sunset here? The orange gradient appears to start much lower on Switch, which really changes the mood. Now, as with the previous trailer, the water remains a bit of a mixed bag, and this scene is no exception, as it looks completely awful here. Not only is it missing the light reflection from the Wii version, giving it a much flatter appearance, but the wave there looks like it was ripped right out of Paper Mario, and not in a good way. It looks just like a flat white strip is moving around on top. Whereas on Wii, it looked like, you know, actual water. This looks so bad, I can't imagine it will be fixed for the final version, right? We can see similar issues in this other beach scene too, including how the water surrounding the island here no longer appears to be lighter, unlike again on Wii. And the flat water makes a third appearance in this scene here, possibly as a result of reduced or missing transparency effects. But here's the weird thing, the water actually looks pretty good in other parts of the trailer, such as how the waterfall here gains specular highlights on Switch, giving it a much livelier appearance than on Wii. And check out how you can see the cave reflecting off the water just after. That didn't happen at all on Wii, and I have to say, it's a really nice improvement. So I don't know if the new water effects just work better in some areas than others, or if it just hasn't been applied across the board yet. In better news, some issues that I pointed out before have actually been improved this time. For instance, do you remember how dark the forest appeared before, partially due to the missing light rays that shine through the treetops on Wii? Well, both issues have been fixed now, and it looks great in the HD version. Next, the purple projectiles of the Batfires now look a lot better than before. It's still not quite on the same level as the Wii, but it's a big improvement all the same. Now here's an odd one. We noticed before that the in-game cutscenes, unlike the rest of the gameplay, only seem to be running at 30 frames per second in the previous trailer, even though they ran at 60 frames per second on the Wii. But a cutscene in this new trailer shows it running better than before, while still falling short of the Wii, as this one's running at about 45 frames per second, and still features some duplicate frames. So it's better, but not quite perfect, but we're getting there. Speaking of cutscenes, we got another look at the pre-rendered one used for the opening of the game. And while it definitely appears sharper than it did on the Wii, I don't think it's been re-rendered or anything. Instead, it's likely they're just using a higher quality version of the original source render, as this one still runs at 30 frames per second and features some notable artifacts. In fact, there's a really weird one that happens here. Watch the rope carefully. Did you see that? For just 5 frames, it almost looks super sharp. At first, I thought it might have been an artifact from AI upscaling. But if you go back to the Wii version, we can see it's there too. Weird. Now, even though I did just say that I don't think they re-rendered the opening cutscene, there is something here that suggests they may have re-rendered part of it, as this shot from the beginning of the trailer appears to match this shot from the opening cutscene. But it's not identical, moving at a slightly different speed and at a different angle. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So unless there's another cutscene like this from the game that I'm forgetting, I think it's possible this version is created just for marketing purposes, especially as it does this in the trailer. Finally, although we have noticed some improvements, there might be one big downgrade since the previous trailer, and it might affect the entire game. Because we had previously noted that Donkey Kong and Diddy appear to have been given a fuzzy makeover with a really nice fur effect, which was most notable in this scene. Look at that hair! But the new footage shows that same scene again. But this time the fur effect is nowhere to be found, as DK's arm appears to be entirely flat. Yeah, it doesn't look great. So what the heck happened? Now luckily, Donkey Kong and Diddy still appear to be furry in the cutscenes at least. But when it comes to the in-game model, it's possible it's been removed across the board. Now I did try to compare other gameplay scenes between the two trailers to see if I could tell for sure, but the small size of the characters combined with YouTube's compression artifacts makes it really hard to tell. But I will say that if we take a look at DK's wrist here, it does appear to be a little less furry to me in the newer version. But again, it's hard to say for sure. Or for sure. And either way, the game's not finished yet, and so everything is subject to change. Woo! So that's all the new major changes that we noticed. But as we wrap up here, I'll go ahead and run the full side-by-side comparison so you can look for any other changes yourself, or to take a closer look at the ones we pointed out already. I even threw in the 3DS stages even though I didn't talk about them here. And I'll run it again afterwards so you can see each image at full scale as well. So yeah, that's my video. It seems like Donkey Kong Country Returns HD has improved since last time, albeit with a potential fur issue, but I will say it's trending in the right direction. Now, if they just clean up those water effects, I think we'll be in a pretty good place. Anyways, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to click that like button, subscribe to the channel, or ring that bell for tons more. And with that, I'm out of here. See you guys. Bye.